When I was on Reddit yesterday collecting information for the second segment of the day, I also came across this little gem on the same subreddit. A giant post, and a very messy one in my opinion, white knighting for Funimation. And the most hilarious thing, maybe not the most hilarious thing, but something I want to point out at the very start of this post is how the author, the original poster, ends the post. Literally a giant straw man. They end the post by saying, why do people believe in these accusations? And they go to try and straw man why people believe in said claims, which I'll give you the rest of the context for right now, scrolling back at the top. Title, I felt the need to address this about Funimation. Goes on to explain and apologize for the post being messy, says they did their best, etc., etc. And then they say, I thought that this is the best time for me to discuss this. Also, for safety reasons, I will not mention the names of people, specifically YouTubers, who are involved with this issue. But you probably may know who these people are. Anyways, all right, now let us begin my little essay. So you're not going to provide the information, which I appreciate. I'm going to assume that's for our safety because there's a lot of really insane, crazy, sick, toxic people on Reddit. So thank you for not posting our names, I guess. Here we go. Says, ever since around 2015, Funimation has received a couple of accusations from certain anime fans for adding in a few jokes that are somewhat politically fueled in some of their dubs. So a couple of accusations and somewhat politically fueled seems like really insincere framing. If you actually did your research like you claim, you would see that there's more than a couple of claims against Funimation. And they've done more than somewhat politically changing some of their dubs. They have overtly added politics. In one of their dubs, they even just talked about Gamergate. Okay? Continuing. Then came along 2019 when the controversy against Funny became stronger with the fiasco of a certain voice actor. So you also don't want to name the voice actor, who I presume you're talking about is, of course, Mignana. That's my assumption. Not to mention the little DBZ leaks as well. But these issues will not be discussed at the moment, as these are issues from the past year. I highlighted this because I went through this entire post, obviously, and I don't believe this person ever brought those issues up ever again, really. So that's kind of funny. The other thing I want to point out is how they say the little DBZ leaks. Again, I just have to point out how insincere that is to me. It's like this person's blatantly trying to spread certain rhetoric. How can you possibly, in good faith, call them little DBZ leaks? Some of the things said in those leaks are the sort of stuff people get canceled for. Now, I don't advocate cancel culture, but the fact is, like I said, some of the stuff that they said in those leaks are the same things that people get canceled for on social media. So why is it okay for Funimation to say these things, but not, other people? Rules for thee, not for me, right? But hey, this guy will say they're just little leaks anyway. It's not a big deal, right? If you don't know what they said in those leaks, by all means, look them up, please. There's plenty of recordings out there for you to look up and form your own opinion on. So if you don't know about that, go ahead and take a look. Now, continuing. So let's talk about what 2020 had in store for certain fans when it comes to Funny. What were the accusations they received this year? Well, no, actually, on the DBZ leaks, some people find it funny. Listen, all I'm getting at is pointing out the hypocrisy, okay? That's all I'm getting at. Moving on. The accusations, the IR reviewers' takedown. When IR was taken down, many people claimed it was a sign that Funimation will be censoring more anime because of excessive fan service that makes the show look too much, basically. The Bofuri and Nekopara line change. Now, I never covered the Bofuri situation on my channel, so I'm not going to comment on that. It goes to say fans showed more proof of censorship by using scenes in the English dub of Bofuri and Nekopara. They put censorship in quotes, which again is really disingenuous to me. But okay. In one episode of Bofuri, there was a scene in which the main character, Maple, supposedly said something. Again, no comment on that. Let's move on to Nekopara. He says, Nekopara supposedly did the same thing as well. Now, listen, while I didn't cover Bofuri, I understand that the context is different in both of these shows. The thing with Nekopara was different. Nekopara, they were competing in a competition, and Coconut knocked off, I think it was Coconut versus Vanilla, if I recall. And Vanilla had tricked Coconut. Oh, anyways, the long story short is the Nekopara thing was supposed to be a pun. So that's why you can debate the context change from Japanese to English. But the fact is, Funimation kind of decided to not go with the pun and just make it something weird, talking about the hip or something. It was a weird context change. So anyways, moving on from that one as well. The Anime Production Committee, when Funimation announced that they were joining the Anime Production Committee, this is improper framing. The announcement from Funimation was not that they were joining the committee, it was that they were on the committee for a while, and they were providing more information to what a committee does. And I'll actually give credit to Funimation for that post. It was actually a kind of a somewhat insightful post. Obviously, I question Funimation's framing for things. They're going to prop Funimation up the best that they can. But I'll give credit where credit was due. It was still kind of an interesting read. And no, again, it wasn't them talking about, oh, we joined a committee. It was them saying, we've been on a committee for a while. Here's what goes on. So this person, again, doesn't even know what they're talking about. No surprise at all. KissAnime shutdown and the introduction of AnimeLog. Finally, we have the whole KissAnime situation in which several VAs have made opinions on the issue. Yeah, and some of those VAs presented their opinions as legal fact, which is a very stupid thing to do, especially when you're not a lawyer and your information is wrong. But you're not going to mention that, right? On the issue. Now, some of them are recently getting even more backlash from fans. Yeah, I wonder why. Almost like giving terrible advice and insulting the anime community is, do you think people are going to say thank you? Do you think people are going to like that? I mean, it's not rocket science here, man. And several VAs have already received backlash from the aforementioned issues, as well as the whole fiasco from last year. The fiasco that you're not going to tell us about that I pointed out earlier, how you say you're going to talk about it more and you don't. Okay. On the other hand, there is also the announcement of AnimeLog, in which fans think that with the introduction of AnimeLog, Funimation and also Crunchyroll will be destroyed. So here we have more people who, again, can't read past the headline. Again, it's not that complicated. The point is, it's not good for their business. I can't put it any more simple than that. I've tried to simplify this point to the extreme for these people, and still they miss the point. So let me just leave it at that. As simple as it can be. It's not going to be good for their business. End of story. End of discussion. Okay? AnimeLog's not going to be good for people in the business of licensing and distributing anime. On whatever the level is, you can debate that. Okay? But the fact is, it's not a good thing for them. Impact on fans. Because of all these issues, people were quick to jump to conclusions and claim that Funimation is up to no good. You guys are up to no good, shaking the finger. As well as the anime industry itself, these issues were quickly widespread, giving out the mentality that Funimation is a so-called greedy corporation. They are. You're the one white knighting for them. They're a greedy corporation ruled by a mega overlord, corporate overlord. So, yeah, I know you don't like to admit that, but that's what the situation is. That does not care at all about the Japanese anime industry and changes things without their permission. Here are some examples of how this mentality was spread. All three of these screenshots are really weird. It's just like statements that people have allegedly made, but there's no source for these at all. For all I know, he could have just typed it up in Word and like copy pasted this all together. I'm not going to go through all these examples because of course these are some of, the most explicit examples this person could have provided. Some of the framing is really terrible, what people are saying in these examples. That's why I can't show them on my, show them all. This one's not too bad. I'm not going to show the other two, but the point is the same. It's just like random points with no sources at all. I don't know what this is supposed to mean to me. On the off chance that the original poster of this post actually watches this video and gets to this part, let me emphasize what I mean there. You just provided examples with no sources. As I said, for all I know, you could have just typed that all up. You got to provide sources with the evidence. Otherwise, what does the evidence really mean? People fake stuff all the time. I had people faking Discord logs of me on Twitter literally like 2 days ago. I mean, stuff just happens all the time, like I said. Anyways, back at it. I got to kick this into high gear. Otherwise, I'm going to be here all day on this post, man. And I don't want to be doing that. So then he goes on to talk about IR and the vote brigading. Says, where exactly are they getting this mentality? The answer is simple. The internet. So I think what he's referring to here is the fans. Where are the fans getting this mentality? I believe that's what he's getting at. The answer is simple. The internet, specifically through YouTubers. These sites and YouTubers make up these accusations against Funimation to give fans what they want to hear. Let me just raise a point to you really quick. Make up accusations. Do you think it's a good idea for a tiny YouTube channel to make up accusations against a giant company owned by a mega corporation that could destroy them if they were lying? Obviously that would be a very stupid thing to do. So no, I'll speak for myself. I'm not making up any accusations. Anything I've ever said about Funimation that's not an opinion has been provided with evidence. Okay? He says, the sites and YouTubers make these accusations against Funimation to give fans what they want to hear in a quick matter of time. You know what fans really would love to hear? That Funimation is a great company, never changes context. You grew up with Funimation, it never got corrupt. It's the same wonderful company you thought it was when you were a kid, and everything's fine and wonderful. It's great for the anime industry. Mangakas are happy, animators are happy. They're not depressed and sleeping in subways or trains on the way home. This is what we want to hear. We don't want all this stuff to go on. That's why we talk about it so much. We want things to get better. What kind of mindset is that, man? This is what they want. This is not what we want. We just want to enjoy the show, man. We want to enjoy anime. Goes on to say, some of the YouTubers are successful in doing so, gaining 100,000 views, and some of them are even getting 100,000 subscribers. What? Are we really going to go there again? Is this just salty about what we're doing? What's going on here? What's really going on here? The mentality had also spread through some notable AniTubers, including ones with more than 1 million subscribers. Again, like I discussed yesterday about Reddit and the YouTubers they named then. I think we can all take a guess at who they're talking about here. Moving on. On the other hand, there are also sites, which I will not mention as well for safety purposes, that spread this mentality in an informal fashion and without any kind of in-depth research in particular. That's extraordinarily rich coming from this original poster. I was going to say op. For some reason, people get annoyed sometimes when I say op in the comments. I see people sometimes saying things like, hey, Hero, hey, stop saying op. It annoys me. I don't know why. And I guess it just probably annoyed a couple people there. On the other hand, we read that. Why are these accusations false? Oh, here we go. In my opinion, all of these claims are ridiculous, exaggerated, and can be far from the truth. Okay, well, this is your opinion, okay? And your opinion saying that they're ridiculous doesn't change that the evidence is actually out there showcasing the context changes. I'll give you a good example that you didn't talk about. Go look up Dragon Maid and that context change, and please try to argue Funimation's side on that one. I'd love to see the reach there. I'm bored talking about IR, man. He goes on to write a whole bunch about Ishizoku reviewers. What is all this? By taking down IR, people thought this was a sign that Funimation was trying to censor anime. I'm not even going to read this whole thing about IR. I'm starting to get really... This post, man, this is way too much reading for me. Though Bo Fury, and for the record, I've already read a lot this morning. I just had a whole segment earlier about Abe and his replacement and all that, so I've been reading for hours already. The Bo Fury and Nekopara line change, what if I tell you that the dub changes weren't an act of censorship, but are one of the many examples of jokes being lost in translation? What if I were to tell you this is the same old argument that has been recycled and rebutted and destroyed over and over again? Why are you raising the same argument? If you did your research, you would see that this point has been brought to the table many times and people have explained this. Now, are we really going to have to explain this all over again? I suppose so. He says, Japanese isn't easy to translate and some jokes can be lost in translation, so dub scriptwriters tend to make changes for the anime to appeal to a non-Japanese audience. That is understandable and fine. No one has a problem. Most people don't have a problem, okay, with Japan changing the context if they have to because of linguistics. And that's more so, you can still change linguistics, and still retain most of the context, sometimes even all the context. That's not what's going on here that people generally take umbrage with regarding Funimation. They will overtly change the context to interject political ideas or jokes that they think are funny that are really not. Like when they talked about social, what was it? They talked about distancing, right? I'm trying to remember the anime it was. That was a couple months ago. I mean, that was not the most grievous example. And I even mentioned, in my opinion, how if they didn't overdo the jokes, it might have actually been a little funny in that example. So you have to understand, man, I am even trying to give Funimation slack at times. It's just the way things are, though. They go out of their way at times to change things in a way that really isn't suitable to many people. Continuing, on the other hand, in the case of Bo Fury, again, I have no comment on that. I didn't really familiarize myself so much with that news. In the case of Nekopara, well, like I said, dub scriptwriters tend to make changes. I have the same rebuttal for that point as I just brought up. For the anime to appeal to a non-Japanese audience, okay, you're just being repetitive here. This is honestly what happens when you take sub-elitism a bit too far. Absolutely not. That's a terrible point. I'll tell you why. This is anecdotal, but I personally prefer dubs. And I'll tell you why. I love subs, but I like to multitask. I just always like to kind of multitask if I can. And it's impossible for me to do that watching subs. I've tried. You know what happens? I end up having to rewind the whole episode because I don't know what happened. It just doesn't connect. It just doesn't work. So I prefer dubs personally. I like to do things while I watch anime. So I'm not a sub-elitist, and here I am still talking about all this stuff. It's still very important to me. So come on, man. Why even raise such a pathetic argument? Goes on to talk about the anime production committee. With this, fans also reacted in a way that the anime is becoming woke, westernized, censored. Out of all the claims that fans made, this is, in my opinion, possibly the most ridiculous claim. Some of those claims, I will admit, are a little of a stretch for the committee thing, but not westernized. That's totally fair. A company like Funimation being on an anime production committee absolutely is westernizing the product on a level. I don't know how you can even debate that point, to be fair. You could debate the censorship and woke stuff more. I think that's fair. You could debate that. But then we would pull up examples of, like I said, Dragon Maid, Nekopara, Bo Fury, like you brought up. We could bring up plenty of examples and have a debate about that topic. And yeah, I would have a discussion about westernized too. I just really don't think you would be able to counter that point. Political dubbing, people act as if political dubbing stuff happens in all dubs, but the truth is it only happens in a tiny percentage. That doesn't make it okay, and that's part of the concern people have. I'm trying to explain this to you politely. People are worried that, something that starts out small will increase and become something terrible. And that's not just something that happens in anime dubbing. Historically, that tends to happen. Censored, for reasons mentioned above, also they're nothing compared to the level of 4K censorship. I have the same argument as I just brought up. You can't frame things like that and be like, oh, you don't got to worry about it. It's not a big deal. Bad argument. Westernized. Anime is still owned by the Japanese, and the fact that Westerners are trying to butcher the anime industry is, like I said, ridiculous. I mean, it's not so ridiculous when you look at companies like Sony, though, and you see where their largest sector is, and you see that it actually is gaming, and you look at where their gaming headquarters are, and you see that that's actually in California, and you put together the reasons why they do this, and why they approach markets more like the United States and China, and why they change the context from Japanese when they do so. I mean, all this stuff happens, man. You're acting like none of this happens, and people are just like making up these wild theories or something. It's not wild theories. This stuff is happening. It's documented. It says, and believe it or not, anime itself was influenced by Western cartoons. Okay, sure. That's a fair point. Some of it has been, surely. Woke, fans fear that anime is becoming more politically correct by adding in... Okay, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. I like to focus mostly on the business and finance side of things. And sometimes, yeah, that's one and the same. Business decisions that are bad oftentimes share themes with each other, if you know what I'm getting at. KissAnime shut down the introduction of AnimeLog. Man, I'm not going to talk about this. I've already talked about this in so many videos. I'm not up to doing it again. I think this is probably where we end this one, because the only thing left is this giant straw man. Why do people believe in these accusations? Here are the 4 main reasons why people believe in them. Let me tell you what people believe. That's not how this works, man. And to be fair, yeah, I almost strawmanned a couple times in this video, but I made it very clear that I wasn't talking about everyone, and this was like according to what I've read and I've seen and all that. I'm not saying like a overt statement like factually this is why people believe X, Y, and Z. Let's take a look. They do so for 4 main reasons. 1, people can't really tell what is happening in the anime industry back in Japan because several sources of information are specifically only in Japanese. What? Because, well, not everyone can speak Japanese fluently, so a more convenient way to spread info regarding to what is happening, is for people to make stuff up. What? So it could result in something inaccurate to what? Okay, for the record, me personally, I actually have some Japanese viewers, and they will call me out if I do that. Like, I'm not just going to overtly provide false information because people can't read the translations. I will get called out for that. So no, that's a terrible point. Terrible point. At least for me, Number 2, most people who believe in these rumors are sub-watchers. Prove it. Where's the data showing that? I mean, come on. How can you say that? And we all know how elitist some sub-watchers are. The only elitism I've seen here is actually from you, like, making stuff like this up. In a way, hearing these rumors against Funny and its people, specifically its VAs, satisfies them. And like I said earlier, this is what happens when you take sub-elitism a bit too far. Like, I don't doubt that, sure, some people in the community or that don't like Funimation might be sub-elitists, but that is such a minuscule point. You're missing all the main stuff that people take umbrage with. And if you actually care about this stuff, I think you would want to know why people are concerned, right? They're too conservative for anime to become mainstream. These are the kind of people who hate the fact that anime itself is becoming bigger and more mainstream and wants the anime industry to stay a niche medium. Now, that's a fair point to debate, and I've tried to be as fair as I can on that point as well in my videos. I've talked about how, at least if the industry gets bigger, the studios in Japan can make more money and hopefully provide better working conditions for people, higher wages, this sort of thing. But the fact is, the industry has been growing for a while now, especially in the West, and you look at the situation in Japan, and it's the same. Mangakas are still struggling, animators are still struggling. People in this line of work in Japan are very depressed, many of them, struggling with depression, sleeping on the way home in subway trains and this sort of thing. And you look at the Western side of things, offices like Crunchyroll, they refurbish, they renovate the entire office, make it all new, and spend all this money doing that. And they appropriate, using their terms here, Japanese culture. In doing so, if you take a look at their offices, they have this whole Japanese theme. So why is it that the people in Japan still suffer and struggle, and the Westerners are getting more and more money? Finally, he says they're apolitical and anti-SJW, in his words. Talking about politics can be very sensitive to many people, so they tend to avoid it. Anime is considered to be a tool for escapism from the real world and its problems. When the two mix, it is considered a bad sight for them. This might be the only fair point that this original poster is actually made. Like, this is actually the correct argument here. So that's good. A couple of the VAs in Funimation can be a little political at times, specifically through social media, which unfortunately can turn off a lot of fans. Now, okay, you had to kind of ruin it there at the end. Again, you're like downplaying the issue. As I pointed out in many of the other claims leveled here, oh, it's just a little DBZ leak, etc., etc. Well, here we go again. They can be a little political at times. Have you seen the timeline of some of these VAs? All they talk about is politics. They're either tweeting about politics or retweeting political stuff. I mean, come on, man. A little political? So disingenuous. But fair, credit where credit's due for at least getting this part right. Yeah, a lot of people don't like talking about politics, and they don't like seeing it in their entertainment because, like you said, they want it for escapism. So I'll give credit where credit's due on that one. Finally, it ends with this. I know that this is a bit too much. I know toxicity is a common thing in the internet. I know that these people are in the minority. No, we're not. I know that this is irrelevant to most. I know that people will disagree with my opinion on this whole thing. I know that not everyone will like Funimation, and that isn't a perfect company. And I know that we are not a perfect community. But I want to stop being quiet and express my opinions on this whole situation to remind you that people like this exist in our community. People that exaggerate and spread false rumors that can unfortunately manipulate the mentality of many weebs alike and turn them against certain companies like Funimation. You act like people are stupid and or blind. It's not just that we're talking about this stuff. They see it. They see it happening with us. I'm not just some YouTuber. I'm a fan. I watch anime. I see this stuff happening. That's why I talk about this stuff, because I care about it just like we all do. I assume the original poster here does too. I'm mostly talking about my viewers right now, though. I mean, it's not that I just record stuff because I want to record stuff and manipulate people or whatever, man. I've been into anime my whole life. I don't want to see the industry ruined. I'm not kidding. I've been into anime my whole life. Probably since I was like 5 years old, to be more correct. But there you go. I'm disappointed that many people believe... Oh, wow. Hold up. He actually brings... This person destroys their entire point, what little points they made that were actually good. And I tried to give credit where it was due when they did bring up fair points. But they ruined it all here at the end. Look at this, man. I'm disappointed that many people believe in these lies, and it just makes us anime fans look bad. We are more than a bunch of childish neckbeards who will only stare at anime fan service stuff all day. Dude. Wow. We are a community that can accept all kinds of people, no matter what they are. I am proud to call myself a member of the anime community, and I want to make ourselves better by trying to not believe in... We have to make ourselves better. Man, get out of here. People are fine. You want to make things better? Talk to Funimation. Get them to make more honest business and better work. What are you talking about? The community's chill, man. I'm not talking about just my community. I'm talking about the anime community in general. Most of them are very chill people that just want to enjoy the show. I'm proud to call myself a member of the anime community, and I want to make ourselves better by trying not to believe in everything that the internet pulls off. Thank you. TLDR, Funimation is being backlashed and accused of false rumors. Oh, I can't get over how this guy frames like factual evidence as false rumors. It's crazy to me. By certain people in the internet. And weebs believe these rumors because they are too lazy and closed-minded to do their research. Yeah, that's rich coming from you, the person who didn't even apparently read the Funimation committee article that you were ranting about. Man, I am leaving it there. I'm done with this. Honestly, I'm so split. Half of me is really annoyed by reading all this and hearing these same recycled complaints and disingenuous points and stuff again. And the other half of me is thoroughly amused and really enjoyed this video. So I don't know. Hopefully you enjoyed. Thanks for tuning in. Nothing else to be said, man. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.